People have been asking lots of questions about off-grid living. And if you think it's like glamping, you're in for a little bit of a surprise, because glamping usually comes with a little bit of luxury and servants, and there are no servants here. You do it all yourself. Reality check. Not everything you plant will grow. And they won't all grow when you want them to grow. But I can see the sweet yarrow is starting to come up now. I don't know, none of my tomatoes and chilies don't seem to be germinating yet, but all the brassicas are very, very fast. You might develop the desire to experiment, especially in the garden, with all kinds of different new techniques and maybe even things you've never grown before. Be prepared for a bit of a mess. If you are doing things like bottle bricks, you might have to bring it inside if there's rain forecast, and that everything gets covered in dust. Even if you wrap it up in with a tarp, the dust gets everywhere. What's it, Tandy? If you're going to run solar, you're going to have to learn at least a little bit how it works. And you're going to not be able to run every single gizmo and gadget you might have run in the past. And on days where you have lots of cloud, you might not get as much sun coming onto the solar panels to charge the batteries, so you might have to limit your use accordingly. Luckily, what I've got runs my fridge and my Wi-Fi and that, no problem. But these are things that you need to consider. Like, have you got a backup generator which you might need if there's going to be rain and cloud cover for days and days in a row? You need to be prepared to learn lots of different building techniques and how to reuse, reduce and recycle, putting it all into action. A big reality check is, despite your best intentions, you can't do everything by yourself. And you might need to call in experts, because I don't know about you, but these hands can't pick up these big stones by myself. Well, I don't even know if I can pick them up with someone else. Sometimes nature steps in and things might get destroyed, and then you might have to push mechanic it again to get it fixed. But a big thing to remember is that if you have animals on the farm, animals, they don't care if you are tired or if you have a headache, or they don't care what might be going on in your life. they expect to be fed. And they expect to be fed on time. Don't you, my animals? Yes, you're waiting to be fed on time. So, no matter how sick you might be feeling, if you have animals, that's a big responsibility. And they have a bit of their own agenda. You might build them a beautiful house, but if they decide they want to rather sleep under the tree and avoid the beautiful house that took so much time and effort, you know, they never got the memo that that house is theirs. Yes, your food's coming. So collect water from the roof when it rains. And even though when there's a frosty day, it still condenses and comes into this IBC tank. And then can fill up a glass with water, and delicious fresh rainwater. So you might find yourself not worrying about water being filtered and chlorinated or whatever, or buying water from the shop. You just drink rainwater. That's what you might do if you're living off-grid. Nice and cool and fresh. If you are going to be having an IBC tank and you don't want the inside to be covered with algae, you saw how clear the water was that I poured out from here. It's because I've got a special cover, and this stops algae, the sun, from encouraging the algae to grow, so it keeps the water clear. So this cover I bought off Amazon, and I'll put a link for it in the description below. This works much better than black plastic, and it's not expensive. And if you've got IBC tanks, I recommend these covers. Especially if you don't have wardrobes. But even if you do, it's a good plan to keep your clothes in plastic containers, because rats and mice love making nests in clothes, and this keeps them out. So I thought you might want to see how the composting toilet works. Don't worry, I'm not going to remove my pants. So you can sit here, admire the view, do your business, but only poo. You don't want to pee in your composting toilet. And when you're finished and you've cleaned yourself, you then will get up, fill a cup with some sawdust and sprinkle it on your deposit. So if you are living off-grid, the chances are you'll have a composting toilet. So sometimes you have to get very creative. So we got an energizer, but the energizer didn't come with any wires. But Julian has gone scratching through our supplies that we didn't use, all of our electrical things, all these little connectors, and he's fashioning the wires to attach the energizer to the fence. So if you're living off-grid, you have to become creative. There is nothing glamorous about off-grid living, and you need to understand that if you're wanting to go off-grid. If you're wanting to hire a professional, thinking you can just get like a local tradesman, electrician, plumber, for example, to come in and install your electrics and plumbing, it's not that easy to find someone. Like the little town that I stay quite close to doesn't have anybody like that. It doesn't even have a supermarket, and you need to be prepared for that. You're going to use Google a lot to find out how to do things. Or you'll be watching YouTube videos to learn different skills. And if you suddenly realize you need something, or if you forgot to buy something at the shop, it's not just a quick drive. Obviously it depends on where you stay, but it's not just a quick drive to the corner store and back, or to like a builder's warehouse or something like that, a Lowe's. It's not like that. If I need to get something from like bric-a-mache, which is the Portuguese equivalent of Lowe's, then it's like at least 3 hours out of my day. So it's the drive to get there, which is over 30 k's away, but it takes you longer than half an hour, I can assure you, and then the drive back. So you sort of don't get things you need, and you wait until there's a lot of things you need, and then you try and do that all in one trip, and then that's like a whole day gone. You need to take big tasks and break them down into small, manageable steps, and just keep chipping away at it, so that you don't get overwhelmed. You need to understand that Rome was not built in a day, and you're not going to come onto your off-grid farm and in one day have it the way you want it to be. It's going to take time, and you need to be able to manage your time. Set yourself a goal for each day, and work towards achieving that goal. So Coco Pop especially is not so thrilled with her new quarters, and she keeps waiting at the gate to go back to her old home over there. And so last night it appears that they actually made like a little hollow there and slept there instead of in their new home. So yeah, hopefully Coco Pop, because they seem to follow her, hopefully she will move into her new home. Hey Coco Pop. Oreo has a shoe and a foot and toe fetish, so we found this really old boot lying over there, and we're going to throw it into the pen. Maybe he wants to play with an old boot instead of going for Julian's boot with Julian's foot still inside it. There, Oreo, there's a boot. Oh, they're all going to look at the boot now. You're going to go and have a look at the boot, Oreo. The girls aren't moving away though. I don't know if this will cure him. Oh, he's picking it up. He's picking up the boot, Julian. Yeah. He's giving it a good chew. He's picked it up. He's moving it along. Tim Tam, of course, is wondering if it's some kind of food. Oh, Oreo's got the boot in his mouth. Even Tim Tam is giving it a bit of a chew. The old boot. I don't know if you can hear the bees. But these flowers are alive with bees. There's just bees coming in here all the time. So my goal is to plant a lot of vegetables over the farm, so that I don't have to buy vegetables and fruit from the supermarket. I can be growing my own, not so much for my consumption, but for the pigs. So I'm in the pigs' old pen. They've trodden this ground down pretty much that it's quite hard. I was going to come here with the rake, but it's like raking on stone. So I don't know how well things will grow here. It probably needs to be, I think, to try and dig this up is going to be a bit of a nightmare. So what I'm doing is I'm just sprinkling down some seeds and then just sprinkling some soil over it. So I'm going for sort of like squashes and beets in this area, but I don't know. The ground might be too hard now for beets. Maybe I must just focus on squashes and cucumbers and butternuts and things like that. So sometimes when you're living off grid, you might have to change your plans to adapt to new circumstances, like hard ground. So something to remember is that not every off-grid place has a good Wi-Fi signal. I'm really lucky in that I have a strong 4G signal on the farm, but many off-grid farms have a very poor or no Wi-Fi signal. So if you are dependent on Wi-Fi, that could be a problem for you. So you need to make sure that you have a strong enough Wi-Fi signal to meet your needs. So even though you're off-grid, we still need Wi-Fi. I have a crazy dog galloping up and down with, she had a ball in her hand. Oh, strong hint, I need to fill up the feed bowl. Did I say she had a ball in her hand? I meant her mouth. She wouldn't have a hand. Would you, Tundi? Do you have a hand? No. You also need to know what the climate is going to be like when you are moving off-grid. So, for example, if you are moving to Portugal, in summer it is very, very, very hot. And in winter it can get pretty cold. So if you're living off-grid, you can't be plugging in a heater. You got to have a wood burner. You've got to gather wood. So in summer, you might be able to plug in an electric fan into your solar system, because the sun will be shining and it'll can run off the solar panels that way. But that's just something to think about, the climate. And you might not be able to run an air conditioner, for example, and definitely not a heater in winter. Have you got your ball, Tandy? Where's your ball? Oh, there it goes. Another thing to remember is that living off-grid is not cheap. Don't think off-grid living is the cheap alternative. It's quite expensive to set up the infrastructure that is needed for you to survive. I hope you found this reality check helpful. I'm trying not to sound negative, because I don't feel negative, and I'm not whining or anything. This is just the realities of living off-grid that I want you to be aware of if you are considering this kind of life. I love this kind of life. I don't mind any of the what could be little barriers in the way. But one thing that I do need to do is I do need to start learning the language. I've got to make a more of a conscious effort to learn Portuguese, because in this area nobody speaks English. And I've got an app on my phone, the Say Hi app, which works very well, but it would be better if I could speak the language. So I'm going to make a conscious effort to try and learn Portuguese. What else can I say? Besides the fact that I love living here. So, keep safe, keep sane, and I'll see you on my next video.